Hello race fans and welcome to round 7 of the World Touring Car Series live here on RaceSpotTV. It's Peter Mackay here in the commentary booth alongside Paul Smith for 3 sprint races here in Japan at Suzuka International Circuit. We are into the second half of the World Touring Car Series Season 3 and well, it is as tight as ever at the top with Ross McFarlane moving into the championship lead. And Paul, well, if that first half of the season was anything to go by, we're in for a cracker in the second half of the season.
Yeah, certainly there was plenty of thrills and spills, weren't they, amongst the competitors here in this championship, and they had a nice week break because of the iRacing build, and that means that they get to go at it once again, second half, fresh and reinvigorated.
Absolutely, and of course with that change in the iRacing season, we have an ever so slight balance of performance adjustment as well, where the frankly dominant Hyundai Elantra and the Hyundai Veloster, surprisingly, have been given a 0.5% power reduction. What effect might that have, Paul?
Around here, it shouldn't affect them too badly, to be honest. Maybe coming out of slower corners, they'll just have that little bit less punch out of those corners. But there, we do see the schedule. But when you come to places like Interlagos, Manicourt, and even Silverstone National, that could affect them a bit more.
And I can say, coming out the hairpin at Knockhill, you really need the grunt coming out of there as well. The second half of the season kicking off here at Suzuka. We've got a great variety of circuits. In a week's time, we go to the Autodromo José Carlos Pache, or Interlagos as it's often known as, then off to Watkins Glen to the classic boot layout, and then 3 really tricky circuits to finish off the season. Magny-Cours, a bit of a new circuit for many of our drivers, Knockhill, the ever difficult Knockhill, and then closing off at Silverstone National. 12 rounds, 36 races. This is how the points stand at the moment, and it's a big change from before this mid-season break, with Ross McFarlane moving into the lead past Kieran Harrison. However, Kieran Harrison has a drop score to take as well. Quentin Guinness sits in third, having climbed his way back into contention over the last few races. David Baker also having a super season so far in fourth, and Miguel Freitas rounds out the top 5. Esteban Rodriguez, Norbert Leitner, Szilard Nagy, Wojciech Savidovic and Nathan Amis, they complete your top 10 in the pro standings. In the AM standings, well, it's all about Dan Martin this season. He leads by a huge margin of 90 points from Craig Williams in the sole Audi RS3 LMS. Mike Pollard sits in third, with David Mulcahy and Richard Simner rounding out the top 5. Stuart Bigley sits in 6th with Andreas Gilman right behind. Then it's Ryan Hamilton, Harry Fox and James Parker rounding out the top 10 in the AM standings. In the team standings, well, it's getting pretty close. Sim RC have a reasonable lead, but Pure Sims are getting closer and closer. And don't write off Impulse Racing either. They sit in 3rd place. Hydro Race Geodesic sit 4th, with Semper Racing rounding out the top 5. The Formula podcast by Geodesic are 6th, with RD Simsport, CSS, Pure Sims and Impulse Racing rounding out the top 10. In the Pro-Am standings, well, it's very close indeed, with DCW Racing Blue leading their counterparts in DCW yellow colours. Well, qualifying is just coming to a close, a group qualifying here in the World Touring Car Series, and at the moment, it's championship leader Ross McFarlane, who leads the way by 0.06 of a second from Kieran Harrison as well. So the championship order is your qualifying order right now, Paul.
Yeah, it certainly is, and Ross is giving up that lap. He knows it's not going to better his previous best, but yeah, we know how good Harrison and Guinness are as they head for pit road as well. They've decided that they've had enough. Wojciech Savidovic across the line at the end of his final lap, trying to get a lap time in, doesn't improve there. So these drivers, they've got a lot to contend with around here at this venue. It's not the widest of Grand Prix venues at this circuit. It is a very old school circuit at Suzuka, and these drivers really will have a proper challenge ahead of them as Spencer McCarthy goes to 8th.
Yeah, good lap there from Spencer. At the moment in 11th position, Matthias Penttila is the leading AM class driver in the Honda Civic Type R. Of course, Suzuka was built on the orders of Soichiro Honda back in the early 1960s and continues to be owned by Honda to this very day. And a real crucible of motorsport, of course. Host of the Japanese Grand Prix many times, and a real favourite amongst Formula 1 drivers, but also home to the greatest motorcycle race on earth, the Suzuka 8-hour as well. So it's a cool circuit. And these touring cars, a real technical challenge for these machines. As Ben Gregory comes into view, an uncharacteristically pedestrian qualifying for him so far. We're used to seeing Ben much further up the order, and that won't help. He held on to it well though, but that's going to take away any chance of an improvement.
And that is one of the tricky sections here at the exit of 130R. If you get that rear tyre, that rear right tyre, it's loaded up, and when you get half of that tyre over that back edge of the curb, you lose grip, you lose that tyre adhesion to the surface. All of a sudden you've got about half a tyre touching the ground instead of a full tyre, and that just sends the back end round. I've suffered that a number of times in touring cars around here, and if you can master 130R, you really set yourself up for that Casio triangle at the end of the lap. But Craig Williams, mentioned to him, fastest AM driver in the Seoul Audi.
And he pips Matthias Penttila at the very last moment by 13 thousandths of a second. Craig Williams is having a proper top season right now in that Audi, and he's only 90 points off the lead of Dan Martin in the standings, who could only qualify 4th in class. So it's game on in the AM class as well as it is in Pro, and it's going to be Ross McFarlane who starts from pole position here in this opening race of the day. Here we start the opening race of the day in qualifying order, and then reverse grids for race 2 and race 3, which are always a whole load of fun for us sitting here in the commentary box and watching here on RaceSpotTV. We hope you're all sitting comfortably ready for 20 minutes of action to kick us off here in Japan. A hugely challenging circuit, so many brilliant sections all the way through the lap. Over 2 minutes does the lap in a touring car machine as well. So it is quite the challenge indeed. So the drivers will be taken to the grid in just a moment, ready to line up with Ross McFarlane and Kieran Harrison on the front row of the grid, our top 2 in the championship. So there they are then, McFarlane ahead by just 0.06 of a second from Kieran Harrison. They will be your front row. Then it's Corentin Guinness and Norbert Leitner. Jack Sedgwick in the leading Hyundai Veloster is 5th, with Wojciech Savidovic in 6th. Rolling off from 7th will be the first Honda of Jake Blackhall, with Miguel Freitas, Esteban Rodriguez and Spencer McCarthy rounding out the top 10. Then it's Pete Newman and our AM class pole sitter, Craig Williams. Matthias Penttila second in AM, 13th overall, with Sam Blees, Andreas Gilman, Jan Martin, Oystein Herford and Richard Simner rounding out row 9. Then rounding out the top 20 is Mike Pollard and Slavomir Jaworski. Damon Mulqueen is 21st, with Jaroslav Sebula, Stephen Walker and Sam Smith rounding out the first 24 cars. Then it's Rob Sutherland, James Parker, Chris Chariton, Neil Rocks, Stuart Bickley and Paddy Faulkner. 31st is Ben Gregory, with Neil Stevenson in 32nd, Alain McCain 33rd and Scott Malcolm in 34th. Jamie Rushworth rolls off in the 35th spot alongside Terje Flatten, who did not sit a lap time. Then Matt Elmore, Ryan Hamilton, Carl Hardy, Tom Stanley and Hakan Ast, none of which set a lap time. So 41 cars all lined up, ready to dive down towards turn 1. And we'll see, hopefully we'll not have any Prost Senna shenanigans. That's not what we need in this opening lap of the race. But our touring car drivers very well behaved at the front of the field so far. And let's see how they get on. Ross McFarlane on pole position. The revs begin to rise. Ready to drop the clutch. Off we go then. We are racing here in Suzuka. And immediately Ross McFarlane goes to defend from Kieran Harrison and covers off the line down the inside. Harrison jinks to the outside to try and make something work from there as they dive down into turn 1 and 2. And Harrison's trying to loop it right around the outside. Ross McFarlane really fighting hard to cover off the line as Corentin Guinness has a look at his teammate there. but settles in right behind. Good strong start from the front runners.
Certainly is, as everybody seems to have got away as well, so that's a really promising start to this one. One driver did not take the start in Tom Stanley, but everybody else out there working their way through the S's. It's such a tricky section on the opening lap on cold tyres, especially coming down into the Degners now. You've got to try and carry speed, as we've got a car in the gravel.
Oh dear, car off just before the first Degners, and I think it's one of the geodesic cars that's got Spencer McCarthy. After great qualifying performance, Spencer McCarthy having to fight his way back into the pack as well. Several drivers with slowdown penalties. One of them is Jake Blackhall in the Free M Honda. So easy to do there at the two Degner curves, the two right-handers. You just want to trim off as much of the line as you can, but if you step over that track limit, iRacing will tell you to slow down and give that time back. And at this stage of the race, Paul, it could not be any more punishing than now.
Yeah, certainly not. Going into Spoon, such a tricky corner this, especially in a front-wheel drive car. You've got to be so patient with your throttle mid-corner and then pick up the throttle, corner exit. Don't go too far wide over that corner exit curb, and then you're down the back stretch, heading towards 130R. It's flat out in a Formula 1 car, not here today in these TCRs.
No, just a little bit of difference in aerodynamics between a touring car and the Formula 1 machines. This McFarlane who leads into the Casio Triangle then for the first time with both Sim RC cars loaded right up behind him. Harrison with the light blue streaks on the car and Guinness with the green streaks on those cars. Oh, enormous wreck! Enormous wreck on the exit of 130R. Cars off everywhere, huge damage. As Harry Fox off there as well, one of the DCW cars off, Alain McCain off. Good grief. So let's see what happened. So they're coming into 130R as a 50% move there, going on ahead,
he's lost
and it all kicks off.
Yes, I mean, Fox was just trying to mind his own business and has his own accident whilst everyone else has their incident there, but it's that tricky first lap through 130R. Your rear tyres aren't quite fully up to temperature and all of that. We've got Steve Walker, James Parker, Neil Rock, Stuart Bickley, all have taken a tour back to the pit lane, and as I said, cold tyres at the rear. Those rear tyres on these front-wheel drive cars do take about a lap and a half, 2 laps to really start giving you the adhesion that you need, and especially around a fast corner like 130R. One little mistake and well, you're heading for the scene of the accident.
Yeah, it looked like it was triggered a little bit. I think it was Alain McCain going right up the inside at 130R, stuffing it up the inside, making contact, and that sort of kicked off a bit of a chain reaction a little bit. We'll try and get another look for it if we can for you folks, but it all seemed to just trigger off ahead. Might have even been further ahead than Alain McCain, but if we look ahead, they're going into 130R. There's a big move. In fact, it's Alain McCain's teammate there going just out of shot, up the inside, stuffs it up the inside, and then this all kicks off ahead. There it goes. There we go. James Parker's involved as well. And yeah, many cars following through. They've got nowhere to go. So,
and all you can do if you're James Parker there is just, once you're out of control heading towards the barrier, is just hold your brakes and hope that nobody else hits you. So the car in front got out of control, and that then caused the two cars to check up. That caused them to lose control, and that's why they ended up in the wall there.
Oh dear. Yeah. Oh, Guinness. Problem for Guinness. He's dropped back to 6th. Had an issue. In fact, so has Ross McFarlane, because Kieran Harrison has leapt into the lead as well. So McFarlane dropped back to 2nd. Leitner's in 3rd. Savinovich is in 4th. And Guinness has dropped back to 6th. So goodness me, it's all shuffled around there. Just in that very brief moment where we went for replay. Here it is. Great work by our producer, Connery Maddock, so it was a move of Guinness on McFarlane, who'd already lost, who'd already lost out to McFarlane, and then rare contact between McFarlane and Guinness comes off far worse.
The problem with the Casio Triangle is you're very much one line through there. It takes a lot of cooperation between the two cars to go too wide through there, and you're both compromising yourselves through there if you do go too wide. So that's why there was a little bit of contact. I think McFarlane just had Guinness come across his nose a little bit on the second part of the triangle. But as you say, Harrison had already made the move on Ross. Harrison's not sticking around here. He's trying to run away. And here's the thing to take into account as well. It's 9:15 in the morning in session is this race, and already the track temperature is at 33 degrees Celsius, so it's getting hotter all the time.
Yeah, and we know at this circuit, the track temperature is so important. If you get that high track temperature, the surface just gets so greasy and slippy as well. The drivers are going to have to be really on top of that. Of course, as well, since we last raced in the series 2 weeks ago, there's been a big iRacing update, the quarterly update, and the cars will always change a little bit through that process. So the drivers have had only a week to really get on top of that change, and that's not easy at all. But it's funny how a big slide there for Savidovic, the rear coming around, and Cedric says thank you very much and goes through in the leading Hyundai Veloster. But Savidovic there, the rear came round on him very quickly.
I don't know if he was helped in that matter. I mean, Jack was loitering with intent, but I think actually it might be of his own doing here. So there you go, through 130R, and he's going to touch the grass, isn't he? Onto the brakes. No, he's just locked the rears. Yeah, Jack
Wow.
Cedric is nowhere near. I'll take that back, Jack. You were not the one at fault there. It was just Savidovic. I think he had to check right up, and back end went around.
Just listen in here.
Yeah,
He did touch the grass. Oh, well spotted. Yeah, you can just hear him, just the little wheel just touch the grass. And yeah, I thought that was a strange handling characteristic, that's for sure. But we did see, though, particularly the Pure Sims cars last time out with a really, really lively rear end, using that to get the car to turn quite a lot. So we have certainly seen that little bit of action there. But Big Gregory making good progress. He's made 8 spots so far in this race after just 8 minutes of driving. So good stuff there from the former AM-Class champion. Also a stalwart of the World Sim Racing paddock. Kieran Harrison leads. Off goes Sam Smith. And that could allow Gregory to get a run here as they head through Dunlop. And then up towards Spoon Curve, giving plenty of room there as well is Gregory, who's got Rob Sutherland right behind him in the pink and black, RD Sim Sport car. Big slide there for Sam Smith as he tries to get going, but Gregory gets the place.
He certainly does. Smith's wide, and look at the SimLab car behind both of these cars as well. Jamie Rushworth, he's trying to make some places up after starting towards the rear of the grid. And he's trying to follow Rob Sutherland through here. Sutherland's somebody who will not be backwards and going forwards, and well, get pushed out wide, but I kind of feel that he turned in on Sutherland there, and that's allowing Rushworth down the inside, and more paint swap between the two of them.
Yeah, a lot of paint swapping going on there as well, with Rob Sutherland's got Jamie Rushworth behind him, who is flashing the lights, obviously perturbed about something. But this has been a great return after a week away for Kieran Harrison, who has got a 1.5 second advantage from Ross McFarlane as Rushworth gets the move done on Sutherland, who again is back on his headlight flasher. So they're communicating by some sort of Morse code, it seems here, Paul.
Yes, that means I'm not very happy with what you did at the Casio Triangle.
I'm very angry. Yeah.
Or it's what I have seen once, which is somebody mapping their push to talk to the flashlight.
It's a little bit like the classic joke where mechanics would often wire a driver's brake pedal in their hire car to the horn as well. That's a classic gag that mechanics like to do. As well, so yeah, that is one. That would be quite good. And the brake pedal attached to the headlight flasher button as well. That would be a good one. just gone half race distance. Harrison continuing to extend his lead. He's up to, it's hovering around 1.5 seconds or so. Last time by, Harrison just around 0.2 of a second quicker than McFarlane. Norbert Leitner in a good drive in third, with Cedric not far behind him, but Leitner taking full advantage of the issues for Guinness earlier on.
This is our AM Championship leader coming into this round. Dan Martin, he's been on form, hasn't he, Peter? He's really done a good job in AM, and he's showing once again, going alongside, around the outside of 130R. That's going to be brave. And do you know what? He's done it before he even reached the corner. Nicely done there, Dan. Upper position. And yeah, up to 19th then against Jaworski.
Yeah, it looks to be a bit on the fight back. Yeah, it was a great move by Dan Martin there on Jaworski, but seems to be just on the fight back a little bit. Is our AM Class Championship leader much further up the order in 9th place? Well, it's his closest chaser, his closest pursuer, Craig Williams, 9th overall and leading in the closest pursuer, Craig Williams, 9th overall and leading in the AM Class, but does have Matthias Penttila right behind him. We haven't seen Matthias for several rounds actually in that Honda. Great to have him back. It was all dumped. Oh, dumped goes Andreas Gilman straight onto the grass, and does well to keep it out of the path of the following drivers at the S's there. But that was a hard contact to the rear, and Gilman just a passenger.
And I think that is a Connery Maddock approved rejoin of the track as well there. Let's have a look at that one then. So down through turns 1 and 2. Running wide is that DCW racing car, and he's just tracked out, hasn't he? Gilman's just tracked out in that DCW car. Well, where can that DCW car go?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to give that room, and yeah, he's come off worse. He's paid the price as, yeah, rejoins into the track safely as well off the racing line. So, Gilman, he'll be ruining the blind spot. He hasn't ticked the option box for the blind spot indicator that you get on some cars now, where you get a little light flickers in the mirror. Maybe an optional extra on the TCR machine. 7 minutes to go. Williams leading in AM just by from Penttila as we ride with Corentin Guinness, chasing down Wojciech Savidovic. This is a battle we've seen so many times. Guinness and Savidovic. Guinness, of course, our reigning champion and running the #1 plate. As you can see there, just a little dab on the brake coming through 130R from Savidovic. And now into the Casio Triangle. Guinness, that little bit later on the brakes, he thinks about ducking up the inside of Savidovic, but no, can't quite get the move done. But he is right on the case of the car number 18, Savidovic.
Yeah, I think these are all the full sports package, aren't they? Fully stripped out.
Touring.
No optional extras in this one, that is absolutely for sure. But yeah, Guinness will be ruining what happened down at the Casio Triangle. Again, he's not getting alongside enough. You've really got to be brave to make a move into turn 2. Make the move at 1! No! Contact between Sam Blees and the DCW racing car. So Blees and Simner getting together. Simner again, he's not having a bad time, is he? Up in 12th place, 3rd place in AM.
Yeah, that was a pretty heavy contact there. Let's have a look at it and see what happened. So here's Simner riding with him now as well. Blees is on the outside. They make contact on the straight. That's never a good start. So they're heading absolutely side by side into the first corner. Bush.
I think Simner's got to try and at least make an effort to get to the apex there. Send it a postcard, Richard. Yeah, definitely not the greatest of turn ones. He was determined to stay ahead, but carried a little bit too much speed, and then did stay ahead. So well done, Richard, even if there was contact there.
Yeah, it's like you say, when it starts with clattering wheels on the straight, it's never a good look. No. So yeah, tempers beginning to fray already in this opening race of the day here at Suzuka. We've got 2 more to come, and remember, we have partly reversed grids in race 2 and 3, which is bound to shake up the order. I have to say, this has been one of the more lively race 1s that we've had for a little while. Quite a bit of contact actually, Paul, it must be said, tonight.
Now you've gone and done it, Peter.
It's like you want contact, you want more.
But if you want contact, we'll get race 2 and 3 out the way first, and then you'll see whether there's been a lot of contact or not. I've been sat here thinking it's been relatively calm as all as this, but it's generally the way with a race 1 here in the World Touring Car Series. You have because everybody's in position on pace, you generally don't have that many people out of place trying to work their way through. It's just those that had qualifying bans that are working their way through. But meanwhile, you know, everybody else is in and around where they should be. As again, Simner going side by side down into turn 1, and this time deciding, well, I'll let him get ahead.
I don't think he had much choice in the matter.
No.
Sam Blease getting the move done as well. The AM class lead really battling on, so close between Craig Williams and Matthias Penttila, as Dan Martin still making moves through the field. In fact, still battling with Slavomir Jaworski for 19th place. And very tight between that pair at the moment. Martin in 18th, Jaworski 19th. And Craig Williams, can he hang on for another AM class victory with Penttila's Honda right behind him? Great to see. I mean, absolutely nothing against Hyundai, but they've certainly dominated this World Touring Car Series. The Hyundai Elantra definitely been the car to have, but in the AM class, a little bit more variety of machinery. Audi leads from Honda, and touring car racing should be about that. It should be a nice, even playing field with lots of manufacturers able to come to play.
Oh, don't let Jason Plato hear you say that. He'll complain about boost or something. So they go along. But no, as you quite rightly pointed out, both the Hyundais have had their engine power turned down. Only 0.5%, you know, so it's not like it's a massive amount. You know, it's not like a 5 or 10% reduction. It's only 0.5%. And I think we're seeing
about 2 horsepower.
Yeah. And I think we're seeing a little bit of the effects of that with the AM leaders being an Audi and a Honda. But then again, Craig Williams was winning races in the Audi beforehand anyway, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah, that's very, very true. I mean, I think the 2 horsepower is not going to make much of a difference at all, personally. I think when you start to add weight, then things really start to make a difference. Is Norbert Leitner now going to make a move on Ross McFarlane, a championship leader, and McFarlane's having to go super defensive. Harrison, he's gone as we take the white flag. So 1 lap to go, and Leitner's going to try and hang it around the outside, and he's left himself exposed as Cedric says, thank you very much. I'll shove the fruit pastel lolly-coloured Craig Williams setup shop car right up the inside there, and that gives Ross McFarlane in the Pure Sims car a little bit of respite there as well. So, car 29, Norbert Leitner, holds on for now, but he did leave himself exposed there to an attack call.
I would have said more of a rocket lolly rather than fruit pastel one. But,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is more rocket. Yeah, or a fab, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Other ice creams are available. But Leitner's got to make those moves and got to try and make those positions while he can. I mean, look at how much more he cuts of Degner 1. He's willing to take those risks, whereas Ross McFarlane, he's been a little bit canny, a little bit wary of the corner cuts, especially through the Degners. And of course, oh, there's a dive down the inside from Guinness. You're never going to make that work. And no, he didn't. But Savinovic saw it coming and just opened up the steering a little bit.
Yes, you have to get up pretty early in the morning to slip one past Wojciech Savinovic, and if you do, you'll have a black eye by lunchtime. He is so fierce a competitor, is Wojciech Savinovic. But out front, Kieran Harrison, 2.4 seconds to the good. This has been a dream return to the championship. Of course, to miss the last round when prior to that round was dominating the championship. Just shows you, if you miss a week though, you just put yourself right back into the order. And Harrison coming through 130R for the final time then. And then into the Casio triangle. It's going to be very tight whether we actually force an extra lap. However, Barney was throwing the white flag. He now has the checker flag in his hand. So Kieran Harrison indeed will be your winner for race 1 here at Suzuka. Great start to the evening. Ross McFarlane hangs on, resisted the pressure from Norbert Leitner to hold on to second. He comes home in third, there's Leitner, Cedric in fourth, Davidovich in fifth. And this AM battle is going to be a drag race to the line, but the grunt of Ingolstadt is good enough for Craig Williams to hold off the Honda of Matthias Penttila. Great action there in race number 1, Paul.
Yeah, superb stuff, and not too much of the messy stuff either. It was nice and well behaved, generally speaking, on the two little isolated incidents, but all the while, pretty good. But yeah, I mean, what can you say about Harrison? Takes the lead early in the race and then just pulls away from the rest of the field. So it's rather ominous, is that, I do feel. If he's able to do that. There's a couple of the stragglers, a couple of those that had had those pit stops towards the end. Stuart Bickley and Alan McCain, they're going to be some of the last few across the line here in this race, and they're having their own little battle to the end here. And McCain just not able to get there with Bickley towards the end, so it should be, barring any issues, Stuart Bickley who stays ahead, but it's far from ideal for these at the back, having got involved in that incident through 130R on lap 1.
Yeah, really a pity for those drivers, and of course that gives the chance of them getting a reverse grid being very, very slim to not at all, indeed. So let's see what the reverse grid number is going to be with our spinny wheel. Thanks to 3M Pure Sims and Butt Kicker. Oh, it's a low number. 11 is your reverse grid, which we will confirm in a moment who that is going to be once the final results are confirmed. But here they are. Kieran Harrison, your winner by 2.7 seconds from Ross McFarlane, with Norbert Leitner rounding out the podium. Jack Cedric was fourth in the first of the Hyundai Velosters. Then Wojciech Savidovic was fifth, with Corentin Guinness right behind in sixth after that earlier incident at the Casio Triangle. Esteban Rodriguez and Pete Newman finished 7th and 8th. Top of the AM class was Craig Williams in his Audi, holding off the charging Honda of Matthias Penttila. Finishing in 11th, and your pole sitter for race number 2 will be Øystein Herford, with Sam Blees right behind and Richard Simner coming home third in the AM class. Then it was Miguel Freita, Spencer McCarthy, Jake Blackhall and Jaroslav Shebula, with Dan Martin 18th overall, Slavomir Jaworski 19th and David McQueen in 20th. 21st was Jamie Rushworth, with Ben Gregory, Andreas Gilman, Sam Smith, Rob Sutherland, Chris Chatterton, Carl Hardy, Ryan Hamilton, Hackenask and Matt Elmore completing the top 30. Then it was Paddy Faulkner, Scott Malcolm, Neil Stevenson, Terje Flatten, Stuart Bickley, Alan McCain, James Parker, Stephen Walker, Neil Rocks and Mike Pollard rounding out the top 40. So 9 laps of racing complete, 20 minutes of racing complete, and we have Kieran Harrison, first winner of the day, Paul. That's the way that you make a return to the championship.
It certainly is. It's one heck of a display there from Kieran after missing last time out and deciding that he would take the week off. And yeah, absolutely. He's come back with a bang, come back to the front of the field and really shown himself to get back into the flow of things. Didn't quite get it spot on in qualifying. That was Ross McFarlane who got that, but very early on, as I say, Kieran Harrison made the move, which allowed then his teammate to try and make the move on Ross, but Ross was able to hold off Guinness through all of that, and yeah, Harrison able to pull away. Ross had to do a bit of work there in that towards the end of the race there. Norbert Leitner really came alive towards the end, but a good podium for Norbert.
Very good performance from Norbert Leitner, and great to see Impulse Racing just getting closer and closer to the front of this championship, battling away with the establishment of SimRC and Pure Sims and the drivers that make up those squads. I think that they can be really, really pleased, and I don't think that first race 1 qualifying level win is far away, Paul. I really don't.
They've been getting better. week on week, they have absolutely getting better. I mean, Miguel Freitas, he's always one that gets involved in that as well for Impulse. Got involved in a little bit, got himself a slowdown penalty during that race, and that cost him. That put him actually down to 14th in the end, so he missed out on that reverse grid pole. He'll be disappointed with that, will the tame Iberian, but you know, I'm sure he'll be able to work his way forward through that. But yeah, Impulse, they've been showing a real turn of pace, and it's good to see them up there fighting for podiums.
Well, we have plenty more action for you here on RaceSpotTV. 2 more 20-minute races to come when we'll have all the action for you. But we're going to dip away for just a moment for a little message from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV, where we are just ahead of the second race of the night here for round 7 of the World Touring Car Series, brought to you by Free M, Butt Kicker and Pure Sims. Thank you very much for their support of this wonderful championship. Well, we came into this round with Ross McFarlane holding a 24-point lead over Kieran Harrison, but Harrison has taken the initiative and won the first race of the night. What will happen here in race 2? Well, we're about to find out as well. An 11-car reverse grid, and for our front runners, Paul, that's great news. Not having that long reverse grid, they can make a charge for this win here in race 2.
I think this is a really good shout for Guinness to potentially get a race win in the second race. He finished in 6th place in that first race, so he'll be going to be starting in quick maths, that's what, 5th in race number 2. It's been a long day at work, I can tell you, yeah, I think he's got a really good shout of getting a win here, and we could see Harrison and Ross McFarlane coming to blows in this second race, because Ross needs to start beating these Sim RC drivers, and he needs to start beating them convincingly time and time again, because Harrison, Guinness and Nathan Amess, who isn't here today, they've just had the edge over Ross in every round of this championship, I would say.
They have, yeah, that's definitely been the general theme of things so far in this season. So it's interesting to see Ross McFarlane coming out swinging with that pole position. Didn't quite go his way in race number 1, but let's see what happens here in race 2. And goodness me, Paul, 43 degrees Celsius track temperature. That track is going to get really greasy in this second race.
these drivers are going to hate these conditions. I can tell you that right now. As soon as you get about 5-10 minutes into the race, that front end just will not want to cooperate with you at all. Especially with this circuit, it's a lot of long radius corners. I mean, you look at it, turns 1 and 2, they're effectively one corner of those two. Then you got the S's, which are just forever tightening on you into Dunlop, which is again a long radius corner. You got 200R, spoon curve, 130R in the last curve, again all long radius corners where you're on the power, turning, you're putting a lot of heat through those front tyres here, and you're going to have to see drivers look after those tyres a little bit in the early running. The better you are at the start in looking after your tyres, the more grip you get from them towards the end of the race compared to others who give it everything from the start.
Yeah, that's going to be an important factor, isn't it? Keeping those tyres in. And that's something that Ross McFarlane's certainly been an expert of, certainly in GT racing over the years. And that knowledge of the way the tyre works is bound to be useful as well here in the touring cars. Just under 4 minutes to go here before we get going in race number 2 of the meeting. It's Peter Mackay here alongside Paul Smith in the RaceSpotTV commentary box. Thanks so much to you all for joining us as well. We've even got Bo Albert in a land down under. That's an early start for Bo, I would imagine.
It certainly is, but I tell you what, he's a man who knows exactly what it's like to swap body paint in racing here on iRacing. He very well versed in rallycrosses, Bo, and certainly knows what it's like to get physical in racing, and he'd fit right in a series like this, I can tell you.
Well, come and join us, Bo. If that's not a call out, I don't know what is.
I won't challenge him to a race because he'll kick me backside, I can tell you.
Yeah. Did you put a Kylie Minogue reference in there, Paul? Did I catch it?
If I did, it was completely unintentional. So
didn't she sing "Let's Get Physical"?
No, that was Olivia Newton-John, wasn't it?
Same thing.
Wait till they get us on the radio, Peter, that's all I'll say.
It's like After Hours with Paul and Peter. Taking your requests. It's now Let's Get Physical by Kylie Minogue. I think we'll stick to commentating.
Yeah, let's stick to what we're good at.
Yes. Absolutely. I can tell you that this circuit has some real pedigree behind it, created by or designed by Hans-Jan Hugenholtz, who's also designer of Zolder and Zandvoort as well. So that's quite a CV to have of circuits. And Mr. Soichiro Honda, simply sent him a telegram saying, "I'm building a circuit. Please come to Tokyo, Soichiro Honda." That's when you know you're important, when that's enough to get somebody to travel to the other end of the world.
Oh, absolutely. And what a venue. I mean, like I say, it is an old school track as this one. It's a narrow track for it being a Grand Prix layout. So there isn't the most room out there. And also, there isn't that many runoff areas where you can run wide and not cause yourself some big problems. You know, there's only, say, through the exit of turn 1, and through Spoon Curve as well, where you've got a bit of that asphalt runoff, and of course through 130R. The rest of the track, it's all grass and gravel. If you end up off track, this place will punish you. We saw it in race 1, didn't we, with the incident through the exit of 130R.
Yes, certainly is. A completely different corner in these kinds of cars. You are right, it was Olivia Newton-John. Thank you to Ryan Walker, who's confirmed that it was Olivia Newton-John who coined the phrase, or coined the song, "Let's Get Physical," as car number 81, Jaroslav Sebula, gets them oversteer there, going into turn 1. I guess we would probably get nailed by the YouTube hammer if we played that over there as our intro music. It would be a good intro music, though, for touring car racing, wouldn't it?
It's a bit slow, isn't it?
Slow motion.
What we need is trumpets, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing beats trumpets, let's be honest. So I think we just need some slow motion Lord Hedge photography, slow motion shots with Let's Get Physical by Olivia Newton-John. Anyway, you see, if warm-up goes on too long, Paul and I get distracted. So anyway, let's get ready for the second race of the night. And we might have Bo Albert by next week. Let's hope so. That sounded like a confirmation to me if I've ever heard one. Let's see how they line up then for the second race of the day. 20 minutes of touring car action coming up, and it's Øystein Herford who will start on pole position with Matthias Penttila right alongside in second, with Craig Williams and Pete Newman on row 2. Then it's Esteban Rodriguez and Corentin Guinness. Wojciech Savidovic, Jack Sedgwick, Norbert Leitner, Ross McFarlane, Kieran Harrison and Sam Blease round out row 6. Then it's Richard Simner, Miguel Freitas, Spencer McCarthy, Jake Blackhall, Jaroslav Sebula and Dan Martin. Then Slavomir Dvorsky, Damon Mulqueen, Jamin Rushworth, Ben Gregory, Andreas Gilman as well. Then it's Rob Sullivan, Chris Chariton, Carl Hardy, Ryan Hamilton, Matt Elmore and Paddy Faulkner, Scott Malcolm, Neil Stevenson, Terje Flatten, Stuart Bickley, Alan McCain and James Parker. Then it's Stephen Walker, Neil Rocks, Mike Pollard and Hakan Ask. 40 cars taking to the start here. It's the Hyundai of Øystein Herford on pole position alongside the Honda of Matthias Penttila. Revs begin to rise, ready to unleash all of that horsepower through the front wheels of these TCR machines. Off we go. Øystein Herford leads us away. But it's a good start from Penttila. It's a very good start from Penttila. Not a good start from Herford. And it looks like Penttila's going to get it into turn 1. Yes, he is. There are 3 wide behind him. And Craig Williams gets hung out to dry in the Audi.
He certainly does, and got cars running wide in the background, a shot then, but we're keeping going in all of this through the S's. Cold tyres and brakes, although hot track temperature out there, these drivers have got to be careful in the opening of this this lap. But yeah, what a start for Matthias Penttila in that Honda.
Yeah, so a Honda leads here at home at Suzuka. This circuit, of course, owned by the Honda Motor Company, so perfect place to do the job as well. And Penttila is off as he goes through the 2 Technos. He's pulled out a little gap to Pete Newman behind him. Oh,
it's Craig.
Oh, it's Williams.
I think he's had a coming together with one of the Sim RC cars as Craig Williams into the Degnas. We'll have a look. He's getting absolutely monstered by half of the grid. Oh, there's a bit of a robust.
Harrison.
Yeah, that was a rough one, and then I squeezed. Harrison then goes onto the grass, and he's got nowhere to go. Before you know it, into the wall.
I tell you what, both didn't come off very well from that particular exchange. There was a lot of contact going on there between Harrison and Williams, and well, Harrison's race, he's back down to 15th position, so actually hasn't lost that many positions, believe it or not. He only lost 4 positions, whereas Craig Williams, his race is absolutely done already. But it's Penttila who leads as Rodriguez makes a move on Newman. Huge slide there as well. Well, you want to see the effect of high track temperature. There it is, just no grip. And Guinness loops around the outside there, gets the move done, and Guinness up into 2nd spot.
You know, it's a bit of a high-pressure moment when your producer takes a sharp intake of breath. You know, it's going to potentially be a big one, but well held. That's the benefit of having a front-wheel drive car. You could just absolutely slam the throttle into the Axminster and really just power your way out of a slide like that. Unfortunately, was able to do that. Let's have a look again, and he's already losing it coming into the corner, and he's just all opposite lock. Well done, Esteban, holding on to that one.
Esteban Rodriguez, proper 5th gear, full opposite lock there. Very exciting stuff. Who said touring cars don't have body language, they don't have excitement? Goodness me, that was a big moment there. An old problem for one of the Semper Racing cars. It's Jaroslav Sebula. We saw him slipping and sliding around in warm-up, and he's decided to just park it straight into the fence. So game over for Jaroslav Sebula. Let's see what happened there. There was one of the RD Sim Sport cars rejoining on the circuit, and then gets up on the curb, clips him, slide, still more slide. Britain's won.
Oh, and he's going to come. Is he? No. And he just decides, do you know what? I've fallen that many positions down. I'm going to park it. But I will say, Sebula wasn't giving the most room to that RD Sim Sport car on the inside, was he? When going through the S's there, and that just caused there to be a little bit of contact between the two of them. Don't forget, everybody, you are racing against other people across the world here. You have to give a little bit more space than what the actual physical representation of the car is on the screen. You just have to give that little bit of a bubble around cars, especially if it's cars where drivers are racing from Australia, like with Jake Blackall. When I used to race in the series, I used to just give him that little bit of extra space because you are racing across the internet. It's the nature of internet racing, as there's a slide from Guinness and there is a rear end from Rodriguez. Bang! Exit stage left, and Rodriguez takes the lead out of all that.
Well, that definitely wins the John Virgo Award for the trick shot of the day, because I've never seen quite a more elaborate pass for the lead than that. With nerf the car in front of you into the leader, they take each other out, and you pick up the spoils. That was, well, that definitely warrants seeing again. But Esteban Rodriguez goes into the lead in controversial circumstances. So Matthias Penttila, he's clear. He's in the AM class. He's leading overall. He's saying, this is going fantastic. I've got the championship, the defending champion, 2 cars behind. Bang! Oh, dearie me. And Guinness again comes off worst. It's that Casio triangle. Well, it's not adding up for Guinness tonight.
You talk about John Virgo's trick shots. That was the yellow ball, bottom left-hand corner pocket. And look at this. Oh, that's Scott Malcolm, the Ignium car in the wars. And he looks to be having his front left half hanging off there. This is through turns 1 and 2. Bang. A little bit of contact there. He's coming back on corner exit, and he's trying to fight with the Impulse Racing car through the SS, and ooh, bang! That's an unceremonious dumping, isn't it?
I would say don't pick a fight with someone from Clackmannanshire, and that's what they will regret that. Oh, one of the DCW racing cars, Richard Simner, is squished against the wall there and has to take a tow. The whole front end ripped off there. So let's see what happened. Battling away with the geodesic car there as they head through towards the hairpin, and yes, not much Simner could do there either.
That was the 52 of Spencer McCarthy that was racing there, and it's just one of those unfortunate instances where side-to-side contact and it just sends you around. You were saying about don't fight with a man from was it Clackmannanshire?
Clackmannanshire, sort of general Falkirk area.
Falkirk area, yeah. Well, just give me some book fast, and he'll be happy. As going along down this straight now, Jack Sedgwick is putting the pressure on Penttila in front of him, but Rodriguez isn't pulling away, is he? He's not pulling away at all. That Honda has got some real legs around here.
Yeah, definitely turning up for the home race is the little Honda. But Jack Sedgwick's looking very racy in third. He was right underneath the back tailgate there of Matthias Penttila. But it's Esteban Rodriguez who leads for now. And how has he not picked up more damage after nerfing into the back of Corentin Guinness? Poor old Corentin Guinness, he definitely was the snooker ball in that particular exchange. And they're starting just now to close up behind Penttila, and look who's making a move. Ross McFarlane in 5th position, started the race in 12th spot, so he's made up some great positions. And of course Harrison, he's still marked back in 11th after that early incident with Craig Williams.
Yeah, he's getting himself back up the field as Harrison or Sedgwick. That's a very, very narrow gap, and he decided to get out of that. Now, Penttila's in that really uncomfortable position right now because he is an AM driver. You score points where you finish. It's not like you've got individual point structures for the different AM and Pro Championships. So Penttila will be determined to finish at least on the podium here for his own championship. But Sedgwick, he wants to get up and be challenging Rodriguez for the win.
And the thing is, Pentela, we've missed him for several rounds, so he's not in the championship fight, so he's really just going for an AM-class win, but also an overall result here as well. And he is really punching above his weight with the top pro-class drivers like Jack Sedgwick. He's right there on pace. He's lost it! Oh, he's in the wall. Oh, Matthias Pentela loses it coming around 130R, and he's broken the suspension on that Honda. Oh dear, and shuts the door right in front of Austin Hereford, and Pentela's race is done.
Did you see though, in front, the leader also had the same issue. I think they've done the thing where they've hooked the car up over that exit curb, and they both lost the back end. Here we go, through 130R, up on the curb, and yeah, they've both lost control. Rodriguez incredibly holds onto the lead.
How did Rodriguez hang on to that one? But has he hung on to it though?
Slow down penalty, perhaps?
I think so, because, well, Jack Sedgwick is showing us in the lead, so let's see what happens then on this replay. Yep, slow down. So if you step over that track limit, not only do you get a slow down penalty, but you also drop off the end of the curb and have the manner of all moments. I mean, poor old Rodriguez, he deserved a bit more for that incredible save. Oh, and Sedgwick's off now. Oh, he was very, very late. Very, very wide there with Sedgwick. That's bound to have lost him a little bit of momentum. And Norbert Leitner, he was on the podium in race 1. Is he going to get a win here in race 2? He's all over the case of Jack Sedgwick.
I was about to say, Peter, look who is there loitering for a result here. Norbert Leitner doing a sensational job so far. Oh, we've got this at Harrison. It is. What on earth has happened to Harrison? Well, I can tell you what's happened. He's facing the wrong way is what's happened. So he's had some form of contact, and he's got to wait for everybody to go past here.
And there goes any chance of a reverse grid for race 3. So that is an absolute disaster for Kieran Harrison. So this World Touring Car Series really lighting up. He's got his teammate joined in there as well. Oh dear. I
think McCarthy has come off of the exit of the hairpin and has come across a bit too much. Quarter panelled Harrison, and bye-bye. Harrison late moving to the hairpin. Oh, there was contact. Yeah, so there's contact, and is he giving it back? He's giving it back. Oh, I'm sorry, Spencer, that is not on at all. We've called out others. We called out Nathan Mess, remember, last time out. I'm sorry, Spencer, but that is not on at all.
Okay, so let's see, ready for the left-hand down?
He never stops turning left.
Yeah.
He could have straightened up on corner exit, but he just keeps it left-hand down.
You do wind the lock off when you come out of the corner. That's generally what happens. So yeah, when you keep it on, it's a bit unusual, shall we say? Oh dear.
But again, it's
Paul. Forgive me for dragging this on. That's 2 rounds in a row where we've seen an purely intentional, basically drive somebody off the road.
It's retaliation, and I know you're upset. I get that. He's had contact mid-corner, which was, quite frankly, a little bit unnecessary. It was a late move. But there is absolutely no need for you to take the law into your own hands. If you've got a problem with it, protest it to the stewards. Let them deal with it.
Yeah, hit them where it hurts, because if it's been a bad move, it will likely get hit with a qualifying ban. So for the following race, which does really hurt in a field as deep as this. Disappointing, very disappointing. What it means for our championship contenders, McFarlane and Harrison, in the opening half of the season, Harrison was dominating, absolutely dominating, and it looked like it was going to be a one-way street. It's all flipped on its head. Harrison has missed a round. We do have drop scores in the championship, so you can do that and still win the championship. However, there's a big move there from Terje Flatten on Jake Blackhall. But if your drop score is a big fat 0, you're at a disadvantage with those whose drop score might be, scoring points. And of course now, having taken the drop score, you're less... Oh, such a huge moment on the curbs there. That looks nasty. But yeah, finally getting to the point. for Harrison, Paul, dropping those points tonight is going to be painful for his championship charge.
It certainly is, and don't forget as well, in a round where you pick up penalty points, if you get deemed at fault for an incident, you pick up penalty points, you cannot drop that score. That is not counted against your drop scores as well, so it can really hurt you in a championship like this if you get involved in incidents. And I think it was a little bit of frustration from Harrison in being involved in that incident early on that dropped him down the field a little bit, and he's trying to make his way through, and it's not easy around here, especially when you've got track conditions as they are. It's not easy to make those moves, and in quite an evenly matched championship like this, you've just got to score points. If you've been dominant, you just score points. Look at the amount of years that we've seen people like Ross McFarlane, not just in this series but the World GT Championship. Yeah, doesn't win, but gets points, and just picks up the points and takes it to the championship finale.
Yeah, and that's definitely been his modus operandi, as they say, and it's worked for sure. So, what can Ross McFarlane do here? This is his chance to really strike and really hit Harrison where it hurts in that championship battle. Having looked like he was not down and out, but certainly with a huge mountain to climb, it is flipped on its head so quickly. That's what can happen with 3 races a meeting, 12 rounds, 36 races in total. It can turn on its head so quickly. Jack Sedgwick's had a couple of monster moments in that short wheelbase Hyundai Veloster, but he's hung on to the wall with Leitner right behind him as they come up to 130R, which, must be honest, Paul, it has been playing havoc with our drivers so far.
It certainly has, hasn't it? And yeah, these drivers are getting tested. Norbert Leitner running wide there. I don't think he will have picked up a slowdown penalty there. I think he will have just hung on and kept it ahead. Guinness moving forward again on Oysten Hereford now. So up to 6th place, back to where he started in all of this.
Yeah, let's see how he sets it up then, coming through 130R all over the back of Hereford then. And Hereford opens the door. And Guinness says thank you very much, leans hard on the nose under braking. Beautiful move. Hereford certainly gave him plenty of room to do it, and Guinness says thank you, no problem at all. Just under 4 minutes to go then in this race, and it is Jack Sedgwick who leads the way in the Hyundai Veloster for Craig's setup shop, with Norbert Leitner right behind for Impulse Racing, and Leitner looking very racy indeed, and Ross McFarlane right there in 3rd, just stalking his pair, waiting for an opportunity to present itself. But will it present itself? Will Norbert Leitner have a thrash? Will he have a go? He's 7th in the Pro Class Championship, 174 points behind coming into this race, about 2.5 race wins worth. So, yeah, will he have a go? Let's see.
He's just a little bit too far behind, isn't he? He's not quite close enough to really be putting the pressure on. And he knows that he can hound Ross McFarlane and match McFarlane's pace from Norway. So, yeah, Leitner will be feeling quite confident in 2nd place right now, but he does want to move forward. That Veloster, it's not quite as good top speed-wise because of the aerodynamics, with it being a hatchback compared to the saloon of the Elantra. So down these long straights, like this back straight and like down towards turn number 1, the Elantra just has, and I'm talking like a kilometre, 2 kilometres difference. It's barely negligible. But that Veloster though, it just has a lot more of a twitchy front end for going through the corners, especially the tighter stuff. But Jack Sedgwick, we've seen him, haven't we, in previous seasons, always goes for a little bit of the curveball car choice, doesn't he? As they should be starting the last lap here.
Yeah, absolutely. That will be white flag in the air, and indeed Barney the flagman waves that white flag to say 1 lap to go. Can Sedgwick hold Leitner off? Just under 2 minutes to go of pressure from the Hungarian. But Ross McFarlane, he's getting now close to Leitner, so Might Leitner have to look in the rear mirror rather than out the front windscreen here as we ride on board with McFarlane going through the sneaking S-bends, heading up the hill here at Suzuka. A properly difficult complex. If you get the first corner wrong, you are paying for it all the way up the hill. But I tell you what, McFarlane's getting closer. Can he put something together at the Degner curves? Those first two Degners here, the first right-hander, Degner 1, bang over the curve, hard on the brakes then for Degner 2, off the brake, back on the power, using every bit of the track and more there is McFarlane, and then up towards the hairpin as well. Can he get close enough? No, not quite, Paul. Ooh.
He's certainly getting it close enough, isn't he? He's giving it every opportunity he can. He's got to make the move, either into Spoon or into the Casio Triangle. I think those are the two places now where he can do it, can Ross. But Norbert, we've seen how good he is, how quick he is. He's holding on to that place, and deservedly so as well.
McFarlane looking very threatening here indeed in that battle between McFarlane and Leitner. It's just taken Leitner's eye off the ball ever so slightly, which has just allowed Cedric a vital car length to protect himself from attack from behind. One really difficult corner to go here in 130R and then the Casio Triangle, so Cedric will be hoping no big oversteer moment there. And the whoa, and there is one! There, Cedric nearly loses it. Does he hold on to it and closes the door just in time? Leitner couldn't quite slip through the gap, but enormous moment there for Jack Sedgwick, and Leitner flashes the light saying, how on earth did you hang on to that one, Jack? Sedgwick wins here at Suzuka, or does he? Do they change position at the end? Oh, Sedgwick wins just about. Oh. So
I tell
Cedric,
you
your
what,
winner from Leitner.
I tell you what, if you're Jack Cedric right now, you need a change of underpants and a shower. My goodness, talk about, look at that, it's all out of control as that car, again, holds on to it. Sensational car control. Oh, I want to see, yeah, this is the view I want. Through the windscreen then, look at the wheel, look at the steering wheel input. He comes into 130R, and the car just drifts wide, gets onto AstroTurf, and it's very, very slippy out there. Holds onto it magnificently in that Hyundai Veloster. Oh my goodness, he'll be thanking his lucky stars there.
Well, you know how you get a tank slapper, which that probably was. Yeah, that was more of a forearm slapper. That would have been lock stop to lock stop in the rig, and he's probably stopping to rub some Voltarol on the backs of his forearms after that one. Goodness, other forms of pain relief are available. Goodness grief, I think Jack is just thinking, what just happened there? I won though. I mean, poof. Well, quite remarkable. Jack Cedric, your winner then, from Norbert Leitner, from Ross McFarlane. What is the reverse grid going to be? Oh, a big reverse grid. Oh, let's just throw a big reverse grid in there, shall we? 22 places to reverse. I believe we'll put Andreas Gilman on pole position, but let's confirm. Jack Cedric, your winner then, by 0.2 of a second from Norbert Leitner, and Ross McFarlane on the podium once more. Esteban Rodriguez was 4th, with Sam Blees in 5th. Corentin Guinness making his way up to 6th place. Oysen Herford, the pole sitter, was in 7th. Then it was Pete Newman, Spencer McCarthy, and Miguel Freitas. 11th was Terrier Flatten, with Dan Martin winning in the AM class, once again extending his advantage at the top of the AM Championship. Then it was Jamie Rushworth, Jake Blackall, Carl Hardy, Slavomir Jaworski, Damon Mulqueen, Paddy Faulkner, Rob Sutherland, and Matt Elmore. 21st was Chris Chatterton, and then your pole sitter for race number 3 will be Andreas Gilman. Mike Pollard just misses out on that reverse grid draw in 23rd. Then it was Hack and Ask, James Parker, Ryan Hamilton, Neil Stevenson, Neil Rocks, Alan McCain, and Stuart Bickley. 31st was Stephen Walker, with Sam Smith and Matthias Pentola there, the first few spots outside of the top 30, and in the 34th position was Kieran Harrison. Ben Gregory was 35th, with Richard Simner and Scott Malcolm the last few cars on the lead lap, with Jaroslav Sebula and Craig Williams not making it to the checkered flag. Goodness me. Well, what a finish that was. Jack Sedgwick nearly throwing it all away there, Paul, but what a save that was under pressure.
In the virtual paddock, I can actually see that Jack Sedgwick has said that new underwear is needed. So he really is. He is really relieved with that one, and I'm not surprised, because how to throw away a race win on the last lap, that was nearly a perfect example of that. But he did a tremendous job to hold on to that. The car control needed to do that was simply sensational, and to hold on and to keep it ahead just by 2.5 tenths of a second over Norbert Leitner. Leitner must have been seeing that and thinking, oh, I could get a win. But no, unfortunately not. It wasn't to be, but my goodness, that was an interesting race. Plenty of good stuff and a little bit of ugly stuff, unfortunately.
Sadly so. Yeah, sadly so. There was a bit of stuff that we don't like to see. But yeah, some fantastic racing at the front there. What a drive from Jack Sedgwick. Really impressive in that Hyundai Veloster. But Norbert Leitner, 2 podiums out of 2. Likewise, Ross McFarlane. This championship has just turned around. I mean, Suzuka's never short of drama, is it? No matter what type of racing you have. Think about so many times back in history where there's been dramatic things happen. We're getting our fair dose here in the World Touring Car Series tonight.
Prost and Senna, 89 and 90. I could think of Damon Hill winning in an aggregated race in 1994. Hill winning the championship in 96. Hakkinen. The list goes on. You know, Schumacher winning for the first time for Ferrari for the championship in 2000. It is just a circuit that has so much history. And that's just in Formula 1. Other forms of motorsport as well. I mean, you're talking about the Suzuka 8 Hours as well with the motorcycle racing. It's got it all, and this is what we need. Yes, there's a time and a place for new venues and for new circuits, and absolutely they have their place in this world. But you've got to keep some of the history of motorsport. You've got to keep them relevant and keep them going here in the world of motorsport.
I totally agree with you, Paul. I totally agree with you. I mean, the Suzuka 8 has been going for 45 years, and it has means so much to these Japanese manufacturers. And of course, don't forget, Honda own the circuit. So for Yamaha and for Kawasaki and for Suzuki, it's a big scalp that they always look for. My favourite Suzuka 8 stories, if you'll allow me, was when Yamaha really wanted to beat Honda. Honda were dominating. It was 1986. And Yamaha paid, and bear in mind, 1986, they paid Kenny Roberts $750,000 for one race. And his leather sponsor paid him $500,000. And yet Honda still won.
I mean,
I don't think they got the money's worth, did they?
No, absolutely not. I mean, if he wants to throw me a few bucks, that would be great. I'm currently saving for a house. But my goodness. History gives you the bedrock of your sport, and it gives you bedrock to a series as well. I mean, this is a relatively young series. Is this championship only its 3rd season, but already it's got its own history and its own drama. Who can forget season 1, the championship finale? Ross McFarlane winning at the very end of the championship. You know, it's had its highs, it's had its lows already, and well, this season has just given us more and more thrills.
It has. It really has. And when we went into the mid-season break, we thought, we said it after the broadcast. I remember it vividly, Paul. We said, Harrison's going to take some catching here. I mean, he has got it in the... he has got a really strong hold on this title. And then all of a sudden, you miss one round. Is there an argument that he's lost the momentum with that missed round? Potentially
indeed, he could have lost momentum. For somebody of his quality, though, I don't see that it would affect him too much. But a bad round, and suddenly you're on the back foot a little bit. But still, if you're in a championship lead, it's easier to lead and be chased than it is to be the chaser. And I would much rather be up at the front with a comfortable margin rather than being worried about, well, I've got a drop score of 0 from missing a round and then having a dodgy round elsewhere as well.
Well, we're going to have all the action for you folks of race number 3 coming up. A 22-car reverse grid. It's going to be super exciting, and we'll have all the action here for you. We're just going to drip away for a very short moment, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV. It's Peter Mackay here alongside Paul Smith in the commentary booth, ready for the third and final race here, round 7 of the World Touring Car Series for 2023. We've had 2 thrilling encounters so far, with Kieran Harrison coming out on top in race number 1, but very much a disaster in race 2. And, well, what will become of race number 3? Jack Sedgwick getting a win on the board in race 2. And now, under the cover of a nice Japanese sunset here, Paul, and the drivers will be very pleased about that because slightly cooler track temperatures in order.
Yeah, slightly dusky, isn't it? That's for sure. And they'll be very thankful for the 22 degrees track temperature compared to the 44 that they started the last race with. So definitely the drivers will be able to push that a little bit more. But on that opening lap or two, those rear tyres on all these cars will be affected. They will take a little bit longer to get heat into them. So you've got to be really careful, or else you end up doing that, which is have the back end go around on you, and before you know it, you're heading off track.
Yeah, that's we'll see what if the drivers are going to get the hang of that 130R. It's caught many drivers out so far, as Matthias Penttila, a story of what could have been in race 2 there, Paul. He was fighting so hard with those top pro drivers, but he's shown great pace in that R Team VTEC car.
Certainly has. And yeah, Penttila, don't forget that Penttila finished race number 1 in 10th place. That's on pace. Okay, there was a couple of cars who had issues and had slowdown penalties early on in the race, which got him to the top 10, but he was there or thereabouts. He started 13th in race number 1. He's got pace in that Honda, in that Civic. Now he's going to be starting a little bit further back, but you know, don't count him out for a potential AM win. But Dan Martin, we barely spoke about him last time in that second race. He took the AM win, and he ended up quite comfortable as well in the RD SimSport car in the AM places.
Yeah, that's kind of been the story of his season, hasn't it? He's just, when everybody else just falls by the wayside and can't keep the consistency, Dan Martin just keeps clicking away those finishes and doing an amazing job of avoiding the incidents that others appear to get themselves in, and that has been the key to his championship so far. You know, was third in the AM class in race 1, and then race 2 gets the win, whilst others dropped away by the wayside. He's really going to take some beating in this AM championship after that fantastic start to the season that he's had. But as we've seen, it can turn on its head at any moment. And I tell you what, Paul, it's going to be quite a fight back. Kieran Harrison starting in 34th position. Difficult to score good points from there.
It certainly is difficult, but I mean, if anybody can do it, it is Kieran, and he can work his way through the field and get himself up there into the places, up to the pointy end of the grid, and well, he'll be delighted that it is coolers just so he can push on out there in the track and to try and get those places. But it's days like today where someone like Ross McFarlane or Corentin Guinez for that matter need to take advantage. When somebody else has an issue in your championship rival, you've got to take advantage of these days.
You certainly do. You certainly do. Well, it is almost time to go for the third and final race of the day here at the Suzuka International Circuit for round 7 of the World Touring Car Series, live here on RaceSpotTV. And it will be Andreas Gilman who starts on the pole for this final race of the day, alongside Chris Chatterton and Matt Elmore. Rob Sutherland, they'll be right behind on row 2, with Paddy Faulkner and Damon Mulqueen on row 3. Row 4 will be Slavomir Jaworski and Carl Hardy, with Jake Blackhall, Jamie Rushworth, Dan Martin and Terje Flatten next up. Then in 13th is Miguel Freitas, followed by Spencer McCarthy, Pete Newman, Oisne Herfer, Corentin Guinez and Sam Blees. Then Esteban Rodriguez, Ross McFarlane, Norbert Leitner, Jack Cedric, Mike Pollard and Hacken Ask. Then James Parker, Ryan Hamilton, Neil Stevenson, Neil Rocks, Alan McCain and Stuart Bickley, with Stephen Walker, Sam Smith, Matthias Pentola, Kieran Harrison, Ben Gregory and Richard Simner, with Scott Malcolm and Craig Williams starting at the back of the pack. Well, flash of the lights there from Chris Chatterton and Andreas Gilman starting from pole position. Lights off, and off we go then for the final time under darkness here at Suzuka. It's a great getaway there from Andreas Gilman in the Impulse racing car. The flashing of the lights didn't do Chris Chatterton many favours. He's dropped right back there. So problems for Chatterton right off the start, tumbling down the order, but it's Gilmore who gets away, with Matt Elmore there in second, and a good start from Rob Sutherland in third spot.
Yeah, that's Blackhall into the wall. So Jake has found the gravel trap in the wall, and I think that's going to be his night done. But yeah, Chatterton less concentrating on pressing the flashy headlight button and more concentration on getting the car in movement, I think, would be next time you end up on the front row of the grid. But here's what happened to Blackhall then. This is through the first part of the S's. Oh, and again, it's that racing against somebody who's halfway around the world there. You've got to give a little bit more space, and you can see how the dreaded N-word, the net code, got involved there.
Yes, it did. A little bit of digital aerobic going on there, unfortunately. And yeah, Blackhall, it's Chatterton's disastrous for the first lap, just goes bad to worse, and he drops down the order. So not making use of that vital front row grid. One of the geodesic cars off straight in the fence. Who was that? Oh, another car's done exactly the same thing. Hacken Ask has gone off and struggling to get back onto terra firma as well. Oh, another car fires off the road there and struggling to get it slowed down. That's Sam Smith. He's had a difficult night at the office.
I think a difficult night is an understatement of the year there, Peter. That's for sure. He'll be ready to write off tonight, that is for sure. Sam has not had an easy night. They're all sort of getting themselves into some sort of order. There's Jack Cedric. Oh, that's one of the... was that Pete Newman getting into the back of somebody? It's Pollard.
There's two DCW racing cars off there. Pollard over to the right. Another DCW racing car going off to the left into the wall. So a chaotic start to this third and final race of the meeting. Let's try and dissect all of that if we can. So they're jinking back and forward. That's always a recipe for disaster. Mike Pollard. Oh,
I think it might have been Rushworth, you know.
it was. Rushworth got into the back of him, yes.
Sam Smith's all on his own, having his own issues. There was the other DCW car of James Parker getting involved in the incidents and in the shenanigans, and he ends up, so yeah, Sam Smith was off in the wall. Jaworski's off. What's happened to him? That's an yes!
Well done keeping that off the track there. That was a great effort from Slavomir Jaworski. That could have been a huge pile-up, and he kept it out of the racing line. Let's see how he ended up off the track in the first place. Wait for it. Bosch, biff, bang. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, gets into it with one of the geodesic cars, and oh, there's just cars everywhere. All arms and elbows, and yeah,
It was
many drivers coming away not unscathed from that.
It was one of the impulse cars that ended up being the one who punted him off the track, as Guinness now on a charge. He's already up 11 places in this race. That tells you how chaotic the start has been. 11 places for Guinness, and he is working his way forward nicely through these AMs. He's the lead pro out of this fight, and Spencer McCarthy is right behind him, and he's trying to follow him through here.
10 places gained for Ross McFarlane in 11th position. So yes, Guinness has been the star of the show so far, but Ross McFarlane has made some great moves and avoided a lot of that carnage early on. But it's Andreas Gilman from pole position, don't forget, who's holding on, and in fact has opened himself up a really nice advantage, 2.6 seconds away from Rob Sutherland in second position for RD Simsport. Then it's Paddy Faulkner for DCW Racing, sporting their very jazzy yellow and blue 3M gloves. But Paddy Faulkner is going to need all the grips from those gloves as well, because Corentin Guinness is arriving on his case and at pace.
Norbert Leitner's had issues out there. Neil Stevenson has. Miguel Freitas is on pit road as well, so something has happened to those drivers. There's Leitner dropping down the order. He's had an issue through 130R, gets onto the brakes and right in front. Neil Stevenson, there's very little that Stevenson could do there, because Leitner's come right across his nose on the braking zone.
Yeah, totally agree with you there, Paul.
Yeah, Stevenson, there's nothing that he can do here. Leitner's just gone, right, I'm going to go on my normal line. He's going a lot slower. And hold it to the inside, leave space. What was it Fernando Alonso said years ago? You must always leave the space.
Try heating his own advice.
Oh my goodness!
That was Hereford in one of the DCW racing cars. Simner, thank you, Paul. Oh, this gets turfed off the track as well. A very, very physical couple of laps here in this third and final race of the day. We've obviously all got Olivia Newton-John albums on in the stereo. Oh dear.
So Simner was a separate one through Dunlop.
Yes.
He certainly got dumped, that's for sure. It's one of the geodesic cars. Oh, so he's got compromised there. The geodesic car runs wide. He's got a velocity. Oh, it's Ben Gregory. Oh, Ben, you're trying to take advantage of a situation, but the track was always going to run out of space there. Around the outside of Dunlop is mighty brave or mighty stupid. It's your choice, viewers, as to which one you think.
Well, the end result was yet more contact. So here comes a move then. Rob Sutherland's going to have to try and hold off Corentin Guinness, and that is no easy feat, right enough. Guinness makes it look very simple there, I can assure you it's not, but Guinness is absolutely on the charge here. Okay, so 4.3 seconds is the gap. Andreas Gilman has taken this pole position and made full use of it. He could not do any more in the opening 7 minutes of this race. Perfect getaway and laid down a really hot pace. Oh, there's contact going on behind it. Oh, Simner getting hard into the back of Sutherland. Sutherland gets a big slide on as well. Simner into the back of it.
Oh, come on.
Dearie me, Spencer McCarthy.
Oh,
dear me, that's just so messy. Oh, dear.
I mean, Sutherland was slow on corner apex through 1. And then through turn 2 as well. Let's have a look at this again. So he's trying to make the move as a DC. Oh, there's contact between the two of them. Sutherland's then parking it. He's determined not to let the car behind pass. There's more contact made, even more contact. And then, well, he's just turned across his nose. I'm sorry, that's unnecessary. I'll tell you what, I'll say it again, like we said last time out, Peter. Glad I'm not on the stewards panel this week.
Well, there's enough tea and biscuits in the world to get through that lot, honestly. Dear me. Disappointing. Really disappointing. There is some fantastic motorsport going on out there, and there's some seriously sloppy motorsport going on out there.
I think a few of the drivers may have been starting celebrating St. Patrick's Day a little bit early.
I see. I see. You mean they've been on the Guinness already? They've been on the silly juice.
Been on something, that's for sure. On something.
Well, the race at the front, the gap has come down significantly now. It's now down to just 3.3 seconds. So Guinness really getting into the march. Guinness was 0.2 of a second quicker than Gilman last lap, but there was some overtaking in that lap from Guinness. So this one could be a bigger difference. It could be more time taken out by Corentin Guinness. So we'll keep a close eye on that lap chart and see how much of a job Andreas Gilman has got to keep Corentin Guinness at bay. They come up towards the Casio Triangle once again, and more big moves going on there. Dan Martin battling away with Damon Mulqueen, who sits 4th in the AM Championship.
Look who's 10th. Look who has come up to 10th place already.
Wow.
24 places gained, folks.
Oh, slow down penalty for Rob Sutherland. The battle at the front, well, 1.2 seconds quicker last time by for Corentin Guinness. He is pulling Andreas Gilman in.
Harrison, crucially, got past McFarlane. That is up to 9th place now for Harrison, and he's crucially ahead of his championship rival there.
That's massive, and psychologically that's huge.
Yeah.
Because for Ross McFarlane, who started in 21st, he's seen Harrison come from 34th and go past him as car off in front, car number 173, Carlton Hardy. And then look at that, gets absolutely freight trained as all the field come through there as well. Harrison's still making big moves. He is on a charge. Do you think he's maybe a bit perturbed after what happened in race 2 there, Paul? And he's making up for it in spades. Oh! SimLab car off in the background.
Oh, watch you rejoin Pete. Oh dear, he's not had much luck as Peter. I tell you what, Dan Martin's giving Kieran a good fight for his money, but I think Harrison's got the legs on him through 200R here. But Harrison, he is a man possessed right now. This is absolutely sensational stuff from him. Yes, he's had a little bit of help with people sort of assisting cars off of the track, shall we say, in front of him. That will have helped him to a degree, but he has been making some big money moves right here.
And he's driving with real purpose. You just see the body language to that number 93 SMRC car. Harrison just making such confident, bold moves, going, I am coming through, and you have nothing to say about it. And Harrison now lining up the number 642 of Damon Mulqueen. And with 8 minutes and 50 seconds to go in this motor race, Harrison is far from finished yet. Here he goes for another one on Mulqueen, and Damon Mulqueen says, oh, dear me, after you're clearly on a mission. So Harrison up to 5th. Paul, I think this has been one of the drives of the season so far from Harrison. We've seen him win lots of races, but this is even more impressive, to come from virtually the back of the pack into the top 5, and that is how you bounce back from that horrible race too.
Yeah, you can be angry, you can be frustrated. It's how you use that to motivate you going into a race like this. You know, you can keep yourself angry and end up making mistakes and getting involved in incidents and getting yourself penalties, or you can channel that and focus that energy into putting on a performance. And my goodness, is this a performance from Kieran Harrison, your championship contender for Sim RC, and here is another for your championship contenders, Ross McFarlane, making moves on Damon Mulqueen. Mulqueen, to be fair, had a really good opening to the championship in the AM Championship in the first couple of rounds, but then has got involved in various issues and incidents throughout the rest of the season, but he's having a good showing here in this last race.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah, really superb run from Mulqueen. Oh, big move up from Dan Martin at the hairpin. Now that a little bit wide there from Mulqueen, but didn't get desperate and shut the door off there as well. Good clean racing as well as car number 13, Sam Blease, trying to make a way move through there as well, but Mulqueen just closes the door in time. And again, yes, Andreas Gilman is out in the lead of the race and leading the AM class, but once again, Dan Martin just scoring those solid points. It's just relentless.
Oh, Harrison now to 4th place. I think it's going to be a tall order for him with 6 3/4 minutes remaining here. You've only got about 3 laps at the line remaining in this race. It's going to be a tall order for him to even gain a podium finishing position here for Harrison, because McCarthy's got a good gap in front of him. Hey, I tell you what, if Harrison might be on a mission to try and get to McCarthy after race 2.
You bet he will, and he's going to take no prisoners, that's for sure. And that's the thing is in racing, if you're going to deal it out, you better be ready to receive it as well. And racers don't forget; they have a very well kept notebook of who's getting it. And yeah, that after what happened in race 2, I think you're absolutely right there, Paul. Cornty Guinness is pulling time out of Andreas Gilman, hand over fist, and Gilman has now hit a little bit of lap traffic, so that is not going to help him at all, and it's the worst place in the world to catch lap traffic coming through the S's where it's just one line, and that lap traffic is not moving. They don't have to, they're not obliged to, although it does help as James Parker getting the headlight flash, and then he moves across there to let through our 2 leaders, and Guinness is all over the back of Gilman. How hard is Gilman going to fight this, however? He's sitting 7th in the AM Championship at the moment, so to finish, say, 2nd overall would be an enormous chunk of points to score, but is the overall win, is that the grand prize? Guinness nearly parks it in the bootlet there. Oh, Gilman just gets it pulled up in time. Tell you what, these pro drivers, Paul, they just know how to get that millimetre perfect braking point.
They certainly do, and I mean, I've been in this position in the past. You know, I've been leading as an amateur, and you get one of the quick, really rapid guys come up behind you, and you think, you look at the clock and you're like, 5 minutes remaining, it's going to be a tall order. You've got to race smart here, because if he fights as like his life depends on it, then they're just going to slow each other down, and I think he's seeing the sensible thing right here. Allow Guinness to get ahead. You manage that gap between yourself and McCarthy. You're on for some really, really big points in 2nd place right now if you're Gilman.
Absolutely, huge gap back to McCarthy. Totally agree with you, Paul. If I was the team manager, I'd say just let him go. He's your defending pro champion, lapping over a second quicker on average. So this has been, nevertheless, this take nothing away from Andreas Gilman. This is what you have to do when you get that reverse grid front row. Make full use of it, and Andreas Gilman has done that. He came into this round 183 points behind Dan Martin, but he's going to score an enormous chunk here as well. So Gilman is going to rocket up the standings in the AM class.
Certainly is. I mean, yeah, going into this round, it was what, 188 points off of the championship leader in AM.
Yeah.
Never say never. You know, that isn't an insurmountable amount of points. I know Dan Martin's been performing exceptionally in the AM Championship, and he's found himself in 8th again. I mean, Dan, it's just incredible drive and performance from him. But you've still got to be in it to win it. You've still got to get there and get those big opportunities when they come along. And my goodness, has he grasped the nettle with both hands?
You bet he has. And well, you can grasp the nettle firmly if you've got a proper pair of 3M gloves on. You don't want to get. Yeah, good. Yeah. Known it's better than docking leaf. Keep those nettles things away when you're grabbing the nettle. That is probably the most alternative sponsor mention I think we've ever had in World Touring Car Series history. This has been a night for the ages, Paul.
It certainly has. Jamie Rushworth, by the way, trying to keep everything on track here. It is right up behind Ryan Hamilton. Hamilton, I mean, he's gained 14 places in this race. He's been on a bit of a charge himself, so he's 12th as Ryan, the AM driver, and he's pushing forward in this. But Jamie Rushworth is a very experienced driver when it comes to front-wheel drive racing here in iRacing. I mean, I raced against him back in 2014, 2015, and times like that. Yes, I'm aging both of us, Jamie. He is very experienced in these front-wheel drive cars, and he's going for it.
Great move there. Set that up really nicely to Jamie Rushworth. Goes past Ryan Hamilton. Nothing Ryan could do there. And really smooth move there from Jamie Rushworth. It's all that experience, Paul, must be. So now, did Corentin Guinness catch the white flag? I wonder. Or will we go one lap longer? And here at Suzuka, if you were thinking you weren't going to get another lap,
I think it will be the white flag. He crossed the line with 17 minutes 56 seconds gone. So
okay, then he's safe then. Yeah, then he's safe. He's safe. So Corentin Guinness opening up a gap to Andreas Gilman, who in turn has not given away any time at all to Spencer McCarthy. That gap has stayed around 5 seconds. So been a superb drive from Andreas Gilman. McCarthy in third at the moment, but Harrison closing in fast. Terrier flattening fifth, and Ross McFarlane going to try and grab a few points and minimise the loss to Kieran Harrison in this round. If they finish where they are, it will still be a points gain in the favour of McFarlane though. So it's been a good night at the office for the Scotsman. But I tell you what, it could have been potentially a total disaster for Harrison, even after winning race one. And he's just turned that disaster into, well, a fantastic finish, Paul. Drive of the day, it's got to be Harrison to get himself up there into that top 5 from 34th on the grid.
It certainly is a tremendous effort. And even now he's trying to close down that gap to Spencer McCarthy, so he's giving it absolutely everything. But it's been a great drive from your race leader as well, Corentin Guinness. He's had to work his way through as well as he's coming in towards the very dark Casio Triangle right now, and he will be the one who takes the checkered flag.
He will indeed. Yeah, so defending champion Corentin Guinness wins again here in the World Touring Car Series, flashing the lights over the line. And Andreas Gilman, second overall and winner in the AM class. What a drive from the Impulse Racing driver. And Spencer McCarthy bounced back to get third position, with Kieran Harrison right behind in fourth. And here comes once again the relentless RD Sim Sport crew. Dan Martin in 8th and Rob Sutherland recovering to 11th after some early shenanigans as well. So, lots of ups and downs there as well. Craig Williams not finishing. He's finishing there on 19th in the end after that as well. So, a little bit of a recovery drive there from Craig after an incident in race 2. But back on top for Sim RC, 2 wins on the board from 3 races, and that'll help them in the Teams Championship too, Paul.
Certainly will, and that was entertaining. I mean, it was entertaining like a car crash on the motorway is entertaining, but it was entertaining nonetheless. It was a bit chaotic out there in that last race. I think it was the lack of sunlight, and whoever it is who's the admins who decided that we race this race at night has got a good sense of humour, because these drivers do the best to hit each other in the daytime. But great drive, Corentin Guinness. Kieran Harrison, 30 places gained in the end there in that last race. Russ McFarlane gained 14 as well. Sensational stuff, and they showed why they are some of the best touring car drivers here on the iRacing service.
Well, your defending champion, car number 1, Corn to Guinness, your winner then, with Andreas Gilman coming home in second and top of the AM class. Spencer McCarthy gets on the podium for Hydro Race Geodesic Racing. Kieran Harrison, an incredible performance, 34th to 4th in 20 minutes. Quite remarkable. Terje Flatten rounds out the top 5 and a solid finish in 6th from Ross McFarlane, with his teammate Esteban Rodriguez right behind in 7th. Then it was Dan Martin scoring yet more points towards his AM Championship campaign. Sam Blease was 9th and Damon McQueen rounds out the top 10. The 11th was Rob Sutherland with Ryan Hamilton, Carl Hardy, Jamie Rushworth and Matt Elmore rounding out the top 15. Then it was Matthias Pentola, Stephen Walker, Oisin Hereford, Craig Williams and Norbert Leitner rounding out the top 20. 21st was Ben Gregory with Neil Rock, Stuart Bickley, Scott Malcolm and Miguel Freitas rounding out the top 25. Then it's Hakenas, Slamavir Jaworski, Neil Stevenson, Pete Newman and Chris Chariton complete your top 30 cars. Then it was Sam Smith, Paddy Faulkner, Richard Simner and Alan McCain, the last driver to finish on the lead lap, with James Parker just finishing off the lead lap and Jack Sedgwick, Mike Pollard and Jake Blackhall not making it to the flag. Well, Paul, we know that Suzuka tends not to disappoint. Tonight was no different. What a day we've had here at Suzuka. What does that mean for the championship? Where are we heading to when we head to round 8 of the championship next week?
Well, I can tell you the championship standings have been updated on the website here, so I can give you a little bit. 64 points now is the gap between McFarlane and Harrison, with only 4 points separating Guinness and Harrison. Of course, this is before any stewards' decisions have been made, where there can be penalty points applied. In your AMs, 106 points separate Dan Martin and Craig Williams. That second race really did affect Craig Williams with that contact. Damon McQueen is up to 3rd place now, 153 points off of the championship leader. So there has been some changes in the championships. The AM Teams Championship, there's just 18 points covering the top 3, so that one's going to go to the very end.
I think they're all going to go to the very end at this stage. I mean, that Pro Championship, Ross McFarlane, how things change in just a couple of rounds. Kieran Harrison, he really needed that drive from 34th to 4th. Yeah. Otherwise, the pain would have been even deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have had a massive effect on him had he not had that. Simply one of the greatest drives in this championship I have seen. Granted, I was sat behind the wheel for 1.5 seasons, so I didn't see that much of the other drives, but certainly from what I've seen, that was one of the best drives I've seen for a very, very long time.
Well, I think we'll sign off with thoughts from one of our fans here on RaceSpotTV. Karen Broughton, a big fan of #Team Harrison. Mr. Cool, calm and wonderful. What a drive. Couldn't put it better ourselves, could we? And keeps himself in the contention for this championship that's just going to roll on and on and on. And guess what? We're going to have all the action from now until the end of the season here on RaceSpotTV. For myself, Peter Mackay, and my broadcast colleague Paul Smith, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for another round of the World Touring Car Series.